Hi everyone, day 45 in China is over, and as promised, this is the second part of the two-part series comparing Chinese and Japanese, and today we're discussing the writing system. And I know you probably think that the Chinese and Japanese writing system is a monster, and you're not wrong. It's a monster. But it's a monster that makes up that mountain, the Chinese and Japanese mountain, that you have to get over if you want to learn these two languages. And after a while, you get the hang of it, and it's not that bad. But this here is how it happened. A long time ago, some people in China, they looked out and they saw things, and they drew them, kind of like caveman drawings. But it's kind of hard to make a language out of drawings, so they started just making strokes to represent certain things, kind of like emojis. The Chinese were the original emoji makers. But instead of faces, they made emojis for everything. And it's meticulous to draw every single thing, so they just started going like this. And eventually that system made its way over to the Japanese system, to Japan, and so the Japanese system has pretty much the same characters. But in one aspect, that system is a little more efficient than the phonetic system we use in English, because, for example, if you want to write the word mountain, it'll take this much space, but in Chinese and Japanese, writing the word mountain takes up only this much space. This means mountain in Chinese and Japanese, and it kind of looks like a mountain range, like mountains. It looks like the thing it's supposed to represent. This right here, it means, what do you think? It's not window, it's field or rice paddy, and it looks like a rice paddy. The last example is this right here. It means tree or wood, and it looks like a tree with roots. So these are just three examples of characters that look like the things they represent. But the more you learn and the more advanced you become in Chinese and Japanese, the higher up you go up that mountain, the more difficult it becomes, and they stop looking like the things they're supposed to be. So for example, the Chinese word for airplane does not look like an airplane. It looks like this. Feiji. This means fly, this means machine. Hey, that's tree. That's the radical for tree. And this has simplified because in China, they write using a simplified method, because the traditional method looks like this. Oh gosh, it's kind of like the pen exploded and made a bunch of markings. No wonder they simplified it. They simplified it to increase literacy, and it worked because now in China it's like 97% literacy rate. However, in places like Taiwan and Hong Kong, they still write this way. That's why this system is still around. And in Japan, they write airplane like this. Hey, it's the same as the traditional way of writing Chinese, except for with an extra character. It means go. So in Japanese, airplane is fly, go, machine. But it's the same in essence as the traditional one. In this case, this was case 1 out of three cases. Case 2, the way you write China in Chinese, simplified Chinese, is this. 中国, middle country. This is middle, this is country. The traditional way of writing middle country is this. And this is much more complex than this. But in Japan, the Japanese way of writing China is like this. Hey, the Japanese way in this case is the same as the simplified. Last example, the Japanese was the same as traditional. Now the Japanese is the same as the simplified. Pretty interesting. Let's look at the last example. This is how you say opportunity in Chinese, in simplified Chinese. 机会. Hey, it's tree again. The way this used to look like up until 1950, I think, and the way it still looks like in traditional Chinese is like this. 机会. Scary looking. No wonder they simplified it. Okay, and the way it's written in Japanese is like this. Hey, this one is this one, traditional. This one is this one, simplified. That's pretty interesting. So in Japanese, Some of it is simplified, some of it's traditional. So I found that pretty interesting, and I'm pretty happy I learned Japanese first. So half of my foot, or half of one foot's in the traditional door, one foot's in the simplified door, and you kind of see how they're all interrelated. I hope that made it a little less monstrous for you. Hope that the characters have become more alive, and I'll see you next time. 再见 and sayonara.